Only the hadith of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ can explain it. Nothing else. You know why Australia is in it? Because Australia's ruling class are British. That's why. Why is New Zealand not in it? Because the ruling class in New Zealand are Scottish and Irish. And they don't like the British. The United States and Britain stands firmly behind Israel. Nelson Mandela said, well, I was in Cape Town when Nelson Mandela delivered that lecture. He said that the Prime Minister of Britain is no longer the Prime Minister of Britain, he's now the Foreign Minister of the United States. You remember? I said he could have gone on to say something more. That Tony Blair and George Bush have now become the shoeshine boys of the State of Israel. They stand behind Israel. And therefore neither Europe, nor Europe plus Japan, nor Europe plus Japan plus the rest of the world plus your non-aligned movement can force Israel to withdraw. They may go to the United Nations, if the United Nations is still there, to try to have what is known as the Uniting for Peace resolution as they had in 1956. And if the United Nations General Assembly passes that Uniting for Peace resolution, all that the United States has to do is to withdraw from the UN. And when the United States withdraws from the UN will have to pack its suitcases and leave New York. That is the end of the United Nations. Israel now becomes the ruling state in the world when that big war takes place. The war on Iraq is meant to facilitate the emergence of Israel as the ruling state in the world. This war, this big war, however, cannot be waged by Israel to become the ruling state and yet appear to be a war of naked aggression. No. Well then, how can Israel wage a big war and yet not appear to be waging a war of naked aggression? The answer is the United States has to attack Afghanistan and then attack brutally Afghanistan and then attack Iraq brutally, with large numbers of people being killed, horrendous suffering. But it must take place when Israel has already done her dirty work in the Holy Land on the Palestinians, brutalizing them, massacre after massacre. And the Palestinians are calling unto the heavens for help. And all of these images of houses being demolished, and people being killed, and children being killed, and all of these images must reach the Arab television screens. So the Arabs can be driven to frenzy and to rage, boiling point. Do you think Saudi television will carry it? Or Egyptian television? Or Jordanian television? No, they'll be too scared. So now the Israeli Mossad and the CIA will have to create a new television station. Of course, it must be an Arab television station. And that television station must do the work of conveying all of these images to all the Arabs. So they're driven to rage. Of course, this television station must also have a direct line to Osama bin Laden. Direct. Direct line to Osama bin Laden. So when I see now a new interview from Osama, I read it now because I know it was written by the Israeli Mossad. That has already been accomplished. The Arab masses have today reached the level of rage, boiling rage. Then the attack on Iraq takes place. And it must be a horrendous attack. There must be a large number of deaths. There must be a claim that Saddam is using chemical and biological weapons. You know, the United States knows exactly what biological weapons he has. Yeah. And the United States knows exactly how much. because the United States gave them to him. These massive and violent demonstrations are needed to bring down governments, particularly pro-American governments. And they must then be replaced by anti-American and anti-Israeli and pro-Islamic governments. And only then can CNN and company, and all the media and all the newspapers, New York Times and London Times, and Times of India, and Straits Times, and New Straits Times, now give the picture of Israel to be a state which is in mortal danger. The wall of Islam is rising up to slaughter the Jews. When that happens, then public opinion will be convinced that Israel is only trying to defend itself. Then Israel can wage a big war without appearing to be a war of naked aggression. To bring our lecture to a close, we're already 5 minutes over time. When Israel becomes a ruling state in the world, then she'll rule the world for a day which is like a week. How long would that be? We'll calculate. That was the time of greatest oppression for Muslims. Israel cannot be the ruling state in the world and you have the United Nations in New York. So something has to replace the United Nations. This is your homework. Political analysis. Israel cannot be the ruling state in the world and the World Bank and the IMF are in Washington. No. Something has to replace them. Israel cannot be the ruling state in the world and the US dollar is the international currency. No. The United States has to be brought down. Part of the process of bringing down the United States will be attack on the US dollar. It'll collapse. If you invite me to come again and lecture, no, we'll have this inshallah on the seminar. In the seminar when we deal in session 3 with the Sunnah, riba in the Sunnah, prohibition of riba in Sunnah, we'll deal with money inshallah. When the US dollar collapses, it brings down the entire world of paper money with it. Maybe then Mufti might wake up and declare paper money to be haram, but I'm not sure. When paper money disappears, the new money will be invisible money. You can't see it. Intangible money, you can't touch it. It's already started, hasn't it? Yeah. Electronic money. This will be the total, the complete, the climax of the abandonment of the Qur'an and the abandonment of the Sunnah by people who don't even recognize what they're doing. New electronic money. Electronic impulses in machines in banks. Whoever controls the keyboard to the computer to the banking system controls money. They can make any amount of money they want. No one can stop them. And they can wipe out any amount of money they want. No one can stop them. Israel becomes the ruling state in the world, with financial control over the world, with economic control of the world, with political control of the world, with the help of Britain and the United States. At the end of a day, which is like a week, then Dajjal himself will appear. A young man, powerfully built, etc. At that time, the Imam emerges. Imam al-Mahdi cannot emerge until Dajjal has completed his mission. The one question you must never make the mistake of asking me is, Sheikh, is the Imam born as yet? Don't do that, please. Imam al-Mahdi cannot emerge until Dajjal has completed his mission.